Walks onto stage. Good whatever, lady and gentlemen. Merry Christmas, everybody. Today I am going to walk through the #1 Christmas movie of all time. It's A Wonderful Life, starring James Stewart as George Bailey. The schmuck. The colorized version is usually screened these days, although it was made in black and white in 1946. Shortly after the Second World War. It starts with a couple of stars, which are portrayed as galaxies, talking in the heavens about George Bailey. These stars are meant to represent angels, and Clarence is allotted George as a soul to save. It's a Wonderful Life is steeped in Christian morality, since it was written as a modern-day Scrooge. Be thankful for the joys your life brings. Before we go any further, I must state. Spoilers. Ahead. Smirks. The angels preamble George Bailey's life as a young child, and how his good deeds saved more than a few lives. The angels wander into George Bailey's adulthood, although back in those days, 20-somethings were considered children, and teenagehood did not exist. Looks right. To understand this movie, at any depth, you need to understand the period it is set. Looks left. Where men adventured, and found fortune. And women sought good husbands. Where good husband translates into any husband that did not beat and rape their wife. They could beat and rape other women, and still be a good husband. They just had to refrain from beating and raping their own wife. Pauses. Understanding this, and the boyish nature of James Stewart, gives the film more emphasis on the fairy tale nature of the movie. An all-American, Christian, fairy tale. Where a man was a man. Where a man could achieve their dreams. Where a man could lasso the moon. Rolls eyes. There are plenty of reviews of It's a Wonderful Life. Some even counter the narrative of George Bailey, hero of Bedford Falls, who saves the town from becoming the dystopian Pottersville. Admired by all. Except by the evil Mr. Potter. Who only admires his blind loyalty to the town's people. Pauses. You can tell the story was originally political in nature, and had been adapted to a money-orientated theme. However, what I find most interesting is the blind spot all the reviews have. It is like the silence from Doctor Who. Nobody ever mentions love. Pauses. They all appear to understand why the townspeople come to George Bailey's aid. And why George Bailey stays in his crummy hometown. But they never mention it. Is the word love the only four-letter word that is banned these days? Rolls eyes. Come on then, stop trying to hit me and hit me. Every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings. Those stars are not stars, they are galaxy clusters of stars. This film is so old, it was before humans understood the scale of the universe. Mr. Potter is the villain of the piece. A man interested in the acquisition of wealth and power to no ends. He is portrayed as a very impotent man, with his later life confined to a wheelchair. George and Mary buy the old derelict house they used to pass as children. Because it reminds them of their love for one another. Not because it can make them a tidy profit. When the bank is about to foreclose on the family business, they blow their savings on keeping it going. Because they see the loss to the community the foreclosure would bring. As do some of the community. George is forced to confront his love for Mary, having spent years in love with her. And her with him, when they are so close that they are caught in each other's gravity. The Bailey building and loan business allows families to build their own homes, rather than supplying small low-cost, high-rent housing. When George Bailey is offered a dream 3-year contract, he sees the clouds over his life lift. Then realizes Mr. Potter only wants him out of the way so he can maximize his profits. At this point, George Bailey realizes his monetary worth. Rolls eyes. Fucking Uncle Billy. What an asshole. Now there is somebody whose existence would not be missed. This cunt literally hands over $8,000 to Mr. Potter. Nearly bankrupting the family business and suiciding his business partner and nephew. I'm surprised Peter Bailey hired him. Fuck knows what he had done before George Bailey took over. Then again, what kind of idiot would trust him to tie his own shoelaces? Let alone with a day's takings. Looks left. I think it was this conversation with Uncle Billy Bob Bailey that broke George. Looks right. I'm surprised George never broke out his fishing rods and went on a killing spree. Rolls eyes. For fuck's sake. Instead he grovels to Mr. Potter. Like that was ever likely to work. George might as well as cut off his own penis and offered it to the gods. At this point, most of the audience are contemplating suicide along with George Bailey. After all George had done for them. To be betrayed by his father's brother's incompetence. Then George's prayers were answered with an incompetent angel called Clarence. That's why I jumped in. I knew if I were drowning you'd try to save me. And you see, you did, and that's how I saved you. I would have laughed my balls off if George had just stood and watched. Pauses. Age before beauty. Smirks. George saves Clarence, the fucking idiot, and spends the rest of the evening regretting it. Since Clarence decides it is a good idea to erase George from history. Oh, I don't know. Either I'm off my nut, or he is. Or you are. Eventually George Bailey gives up and ends back at the bridge, where he was about to commit suicide. You see George, you've really had a wonderful life. Don't you see what a mistake it would be to just throw it away? Pauses. And with that, crummy Bedford Falls becomes a much brighter place. Now that George realizes what a shithole his hometown might have been without him, he is able to face his fate with an open heart. Looks right. Really? That is all you got from that? Looks left. You poor defenseless animals. Rolls eyes. Why then does George run through the town like a lunatic, even spending time to bring good cheer to Mr. Potter, who, by the looks of it, admires Napoleon, dictator of France, and an enemy of the people. George even loves the dodgy banister cap that annoyed him so much earlier in the film. When the town turn up to lend him the money to settle the books, he remains in good cheer, without even bothering to inquire on the interest rate, or remind Uncle Billy that he still owes the business $8,000. Plus whatever the town is charging for the loan. Harry Bailey, the hero, reminds George that he has lots of friends. And a decorated war hero as a brother, too. Now drink your non-alcoholic punch and dance like a monkey. Even Clarence appears to think it is job done. Everyone is a fucking winner. Pauses. What if your only friends are imaginary? And you hate them? And what is worse, they can't stand the sight of you? How the fuck is that statement going to help Clarence? Every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings. And what the fuck does that even mean? How many fucking angels are there, and why are they all males? Or do angels wear wings like shoes? Pauses. As you will note, It's a Wonderful Life makes no fucking sense. However, it is a tale about love. George Bailey's acceptance that he stayed in Bedford Falls because of love. The love for his family. And his community. And their love of him. Pauses. Which is why it is the #1 Christmas movie. Peace, I am out of here, word up. Exits stage left.